to some extent, people in Edmonton maybe overvalue those players, because if you're going to trade for a guy who's going to grow up to be a number 1 or 2 defenseman, teams are going to want a lot in return for that, because it is such a very important position. So maybe the Oilers are trying, and they're just not getting a lot of returns on their phone calls.
The other teams know that the Oilers need a defenseman, so they're grinding Peter Chiarelli pretty hard. I'm sure. So, they've watched the Oilers play for several years and said, you got good forwards, but you don't have a very good defense. So we're going to pay a pretty price to get one of our defensemen, and the only way you're going to get him is if, say, we can't afford that guy, or we have cap problems, and we'll trade you that player. It's difficult, and the players that Peter might be traded, they're not his players. The Halls and the Nugent Hopkinses and the Eberles have been here for some time, and they are cornerstone players. They're not the players Peter Chiarelli drafted. It's easier for him to trade them and say, look, I didn't draft these guys. That's another regime, and they're good, but I'm not hanging my hat on them.
He has no emotional attachment to them at all, whereas the previous, if you draft a guy first overall and suddenly you're trading him 4 or 5 years later, it doesn't look good on you. He doesn't have to worry about that. He can trade anybody on that roster except McDavid.